Senator Cortez Masto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome to all of our witnesses today. Let me just talk a little bit about the environmental review processes. At a recent hearing this committee had on critical mineral security, I discussed with a witness what we can be doing to improve our environmental review processes and identify conflicts earlier in the process, including ways to avoid litigation or other opposition before a project invests resources and money. The witnesses raised Canada's use of an environmental and social impact assessment, the social being the optimal component, that helps identify and resolves social license to operate issues and other potential conflicts much earlier in the process when compared to our own environmental impact statement processes. And by the way, I'm from Nevada, over 80% of the land owned by the federal government, so we have an important relationship that we have to constantly engage at the federal level. But I guess my question to the panelists, and maybe Minister Wilkinson or Deputy Minister Camden, will start with you. Can anyone on the panel elaborate on any differences between our permitting systems and where Canada may have a more success in successfully siting and permitting projects on your public lands? And Minister Wilkinson, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. So a couple things. I mean, for mining in particular, some of the permitting and regulatory processes are at the provincial level and some of them are at the federal. Most of the Crown land in Canada is actually the responsibility of the provinces. But I absolutely agree with you that and what we have tried to focus on with respect to environmental assessment is having those conversations very early, identifying the critical issues that are going to have to be addressed, whether that's impacts on water, impacts on species at risk, or Indigenous concerns, which are a very, very important part of our process in Canada. Trying to ensure that we're isolating the big issues early on and working to try to address those so that you're not 5 years into a process when you run into the wall where there are significant concerns that haven't been addressed. Those are things that, while there are different views on environmental assessment processes even within the Canadian Federation, I think we would all agree that having those conversations very early on is extremely important to expediting the process.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would add that, like Minister Wilkinson said, we do have environmental robust assessment review. We have an independent review board, and usually I would say that when the environmental study are submitted to the government or the board for analysis, it takes between 48 to 60 months before getting the authorization from the government. And during that times, we have public hearings, and all these studies are made public, as well as all the questions sent to the mining companies and the answer given by the companies. They're all made public. So it helps people and local communities and Indigenous communities to learn more about what are the issues and concerns. And in that way, it helps for social acceptability too.
Has the analysis of the environmental and social impact assessment added to the time frame it takes to get permitting?
It's the 48 to 60 months. It's at the moment you submit your environmental study.
Okay.
And then we have the analysis phase, and then we have public hearings. Then after the public hearings, sometimes, often, the recommendation the recommendation will change the projects to improve the projects. And then the government will approve the project.
And at that time, you have all the stakeholders get to weigh in as well, correct?
Yeah, but all that information is public at that time.
Right, right. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you. And now we have Senator Langford.